relationships. That's something that a lot of musicians have a hard time understanding. Meaning, what scale do I play with a certain chord? In chords, you have 5 quality chords: major, minor, dominant, diminished, and half diminished. There's no other chord qualities. It's only 5. So what do I play when I play a major chord or when I play a dominant? What's the difference? Dealing with chord scale relationships, most people play what they call the tonic. If you play in a major C, you would most likely play a C major scale over top of it. As you get more into a little bit extended harmony, you might play what I call a Lydian scale off the modal, out of the modes, which is basically a G major, and it'll be a raised 4th. The F will be raised to F sharp. Minor chord. What would I play with minor chord? You have your natural minor, which is an E flat major. You have your harmonic minor, which gives it a Arabic flavor. You have your melodic minor, which basically is a staple in jazz. Then you have what they call the 4th minor, is the Dorian minor, which is basically playing a B flat major over top of it. Now you get into dominant. What would I play over dominant? Most musicians tend to choose over this dominant, a Mixolydian scale. I tend to use the same thing. People like Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock, they tend to use more Phrygian scaling. I tend to use more of the Mixolydian scale, which is based on the 5th degree. That's a dominant 9, C dominant 9, and I'm playing a Mixolydian scale over it. This is how it sounds a little bit faster. Let me try that again. That's over C dominant 7. The next you have the diminished. You only have 3 diminished scales, 3 diminished chords. So that's easy to work with. C diminished. Every minor third, every key, every note that is a minor third is the same note. They are relative to each other. So if I start a third up, it's going to be the same scale. Here's the C diminished scale. Which is third up, it's going to be the same scale. What would you play over the top of a C diminished? A a diminished scale. So whenever you play your diminished scales, you usually play diminished. Whenever you play a diminished chord, you play diminished scales. And lastly, you have your half diminished, which is a staple in gospel. A C to half diminished. You see that a lot in gospel music because it tends to be moved in a 2/5 manner. It resolves to the 5. On half diminished chords, most musicians will say play the Locrian scale, which is based on the 7th degree. I tend to use that too. So let me give you an example of me playing a C, half diminished, using the Locrian scale on the top of it. Try that again. One more time. That's the C, diminished, half diminished, with a Locrian scale running up and down over top of it. So that's the 5 chords you got. Now, playing the song, do you play scales through the chords or on top of the chords? That's a question that jazz musicians have been asking for years. They teach it in Berkeley, they teach it in jazz schools. Do you play scales through the chord progressions or on top of chords? I tend to use both. So let's take a song like a song that is gospel, which is a song I like to do called The Windows of Heaven. And I'll do a lot of the scaling over top of chords to show you what's going on. Try a good beat just to keep the time. basically on that, I was just playing a lot of jazz stuff, a little stride. Most of the stuff comes from stride piano players. James P. Johnson, Willie the Lion, Duke Ellington, Fats Waller. They came up with that concept of the using the temps, using the bass, then going to the chords in the middle, a la. That comes from the stride piano players, which was probably where a lot of the bebop guys got their style from. Thelonious Monk, Bud Powell, playing through changes, which is a staple in gospel. The same thing they do in gospel is what they did 60, 70 years ago. So let's try a more contemporary gospel song that you can probably figure out how to use a lot of chord scale relationships. So let's try a song called, I think it was written by Andre Crouch, I Love You. Another thing they use a lot in gospel is upper structures. Just laying chords on top of chords. I use a lot of trans tritone substitutions. Most of your upper structures is going to be used on dominant. Wherever there's a dominant chord, upper structures usually is the best way, a la Herbie Hancock. If you listen to the song Dolphin Dance, he does a lot of it. And I give you an example of it. Because the upper structures is based on the tritones. So let's play a little bit of that. In my left hand I got a B flat dominant 7th. So what I'm going to play over top of it is the upper structure, which is mostly a triad. Sometimes you can do quarter voices.